In this tutorial, we are going to take our original plate and try to see if we can make it look a little bit larger as if we shot with a larger lens. So here's our original plate inside of After Effects. We have our people taken out, and I've kind of moved to just an arbitrary frame, went up to composition. Oops, where's it at? Composition, then down to same frame, save frame as, and it brought me down to here, and I'm going to just save this as a frame into Photoshop. I've already done that, and I brought it into Photoshop. There's a hair in my mouth here, sorry. And here's our frame. So what we want to do is we want to kind of evaluate and see where we want to go here. We want to try to still apply good compositional principles and keep our interest of our audience onto this rock, because we're going to put like a base or a mountain fortress or something on there in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transform, hit Command T to bring up my transform, or Control T depending on what you're on. And then we're going to resize this. Now, we could bring it down this small, and we can really resize this and get a very, very large lens on here, a very wide lens. But I'm going to bring it about right here and kind of into this area right there. Still giving us that rule of thirds here for this rock, but we're just going to extend it out a little bit this way. So the way that this tool works is we're going to use a selection, and you can use any of the selections that you want. I'm just going to use a rectangle, and I'm going to make a selection here on the top, and I'm going to overlap my selection just a little bit so that I can kind of eat into here, so I make sure that it's actually giving me a good overlap. And I'll show you what that means in just a second. In this floating little window here, we have this generative fill button. I'm going to click on that. We can type something in here if we want, but if we don't and we just click generate, then Photoshop will evaluate what's happening in the scene and say, okay, what do I need to do to make it look like this area of selection is going to match what's inside of the scene? So I'm very much anticipating just getting a bunch of clouds in the sky that are overcast, so it looks like it fits, and that's exactly what we have. Notice here that After Effects gave us a brand new layer over here, and we can turn that on and off, and we can just see it by itself as well. So that's where that overlapping kind of helps us a little bit in case we need to like blend it in a little bit more or do some more work. Now that top area there was pretty easy. Let's go ahead and try this bottom area down here where we've got a lot more information and a lot more kind of character and story going on, if you will. And the story that it looks like is that there's been either people or animals or something that's been causing the ground to get a little ripped up. And let's go ahead and see if Photoshop can interpret that and to extend it through. So again, I'm going to hit Generative Fill. I'm not typing anything, and I'm going to hit Generate. So it's going to look at kind of similar to some of our other cleanup tools that we've used before, and it's going to do a lot of that work that we were doing manually at the beginning of the semester for us. And we're going to see here that it did a pretty good job. We do have some options though. When this fill happens, you'll see here on the right-hand side under our properties that we have three options here. And if we click through them, it'll give us what those options look like. And all of them kind of look pretty good. I kind of like this one a little bit better just because it gets this texture in the front, but you might not like that. It's just up to you. Some of them will work and some of it won't. On the right-hand side here, what we have is we have kind of a blending. We're going to have a sky, we're going to have the water, and we're going to have the sand. So it's a little bit more complicated for After Effects or for Photoshop to do. So let's just go ahead and see what happens if we hit Generative Fill and Generate. So it's going to look at these areas and try to do the best it can to make those things work. I'm pretty confident it's going to do a good job. I've worked with this piece of media for a long time, and it actually looks pretty darn good. So again, we can kind of cycle through different ones. If you don't like these ones, you can hit this Generate button here on the top right, and that Generate button will give you 3 more options. Now the challenge with this image right here is at the end of the day, only this part right here is our footage. And when we go back into After Effects, this part will have movement, particularly in the water and some of the fog that's coming through, right? But this area over here, particularly where the waves are, is going to be stationary because it's just an image. And so we have to kind of think about how we're going to work with this. And so what I like to do for this example here is to take one more prompt here. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to click on this generative fill and we're going to tell it something. What I want to do is I want to create a large boulder that's going to hide this water back here and allow us to hide the movement or hide the lack of movement behind this boulder to make it look like it's already there. So I'm going to say large, oops, spell it right, large rock that hides the water from the camera view. Something like that. Now, I'm not particularly excited about or hopeful that this is going to give me like the best thing right away. This is where we have some limitations because the program only knows how much I'm giving it to talk about, right? So right now, okay, it kind of gave me that, and what it didn't do is it didn't give me exactly what I wanted. In fact, it actually made it worse. It gave me a person back there for some reason. So this is going to be where a lot of trial and error is going to come from in this process. So what I did before I started this video is I created this. Now, you got this gigantic rock right here, and this satisfies the need. As you see here, it's hiding the water back there. So when I bring in my plate in After Effects, it's going to work. But let me kind of walk through what I had to do to create that. So I had my original layer, just like we just saw a minute ago. I got my sky. I did a little bit of that side there, my ground, right? But this rock here was a little bit more challenging. And you'll see here that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different images to make that rock. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn off that layer. I'm going to turn on these ones. So this is what I ended up with at the end of the day, which is kind of like this whole image on top of an image. And so the first thing I did is I wrote huge cliff rock that blocks the water from the camera. And it gave me that. Not really huge, but it kind of fit the bill. It did what I wanted it to do. The next one I did is I made a selection and I said, extend the rocks into the frame a little bit more. And it gave me, more of like this, okay? All I did was I took that layer and I moved it over and I made a selection beside it and underneath it. And I said, bring the rocks to the edge of the frame. And it did. And then I needed to hide this little area right here. So I said, make the rock higher as I selected right there. It did. Needed a little tiny section right there. I said, make the rock higher. It gave me this one with a bird. And then some with trees in the background. But I ended up selecting this one. And then I took all of these and I just merged them into one image, which is this image right here. Well, because it has also the waves and everything behind it, all I did when I selected this image is I created a mask and I just masked out that rock by itself. So I feel like it took me a long time to use AI when I could have probably just found this rock myself online, but that was the way that I was able to get this one completed. So now all I need to do is go back here and paint out these people, and that's going to be very easy when it comes to our healing brush tool, right? We've done this before where I can come in and, let's select that layer. Oh, wait, which one do I have? I want the spot healing brush. And now I'm painting these people out. And I can now bring this into After Effects and work on it. And that'll be what we're going to do here in the next couple of videos and look at the rest of this process. This one was kind of long, but worth it to see how these AI tools work. So let's move on to the next part. Thanks.